You stare at the screen. The name pops up after weeks of nothing. Part of you wants to reply fast. Part of you feels angry. Part of you hopes this means something. This moment decides who you become next. This is where most people fail. This is where your life either levels up or repeats. Before we go deeper, comment, "I choose clarity" if you are done playing guessing games with your time and energy. Number 1. Why she came back after silence. She comes back now because the moment you stopped feeding attention, the emotional leverage shifted, not in your favor yet, but into a neutral zone where curiosity replaces certainty. Because when someone leaves without explanation and later reappears, it reveals a belief that the door stayed open, and that belief only forms when access was once free and consequences were absent. And this is painful, because it forces you to see that your presence was useful but not prioritized. And the mind resists this truth by searching for hidden meaning when the meaning is already clear in behavior. Because people do not return to what they respect. They return to what they assume remains available. And when you understand this, you stop personalizing the return and start seeing it as a structural outcome of past dynamics, where you gave consistency without requirement and attention without direction. And Stoic practice begins exactly here by separating what is within your control from what never was, because her decision to step away came from her internal state, her options, her comfort level with imbalance, while your power lies in how you respond now, not emotionally but strategically, and the first correction is internal, where you refuse to rewrite history to soothe discomfort because nothing was misunderstood. The gap happened because effort declined on one side and was tolerated on the other, and tolerance without standards trains people how to treat you. So her return now is not a compliment, but a check to see if you remain the same person who absorbs distance quietly and welcomes re-entry eagerly. And this is where introspection must cut deep, because the pattern does not start with her message, but with your earlier choices. The moments you felt unease and ignored it, the times you adjusted yourself instead of adjusting the boundary, the times you waited instead of acting. And the value here is not self-blame, but self-command. Because once you accept that you trained this dynamic, you gain the power to untrain it. And the solution is not to punish or lecture, but to change the structure entirely, to become someone whose presence requires intention, whose time has direction, whose availability is conditional on consistency. And this starts by deciding that access to you is no longer casual, that your life is no longer paused by incoming messages, that your attention is invested deliberately. And when you live this way, the return loses emotional charge. It becomes information rather than temptation, and you see clearly that people who leave and come back are revealing how they relate to value, and your task is to relate to yourself with more discipline than they ever did, to act in alignment with purpose rather than reaction, to build days filled with action, goals written and broken into steps, body trained, mind sharpened, work advanced, so that no message interrupts momentum. Because when your life is full, you stop hoping people choose you and start observing who qualifies to walk beside you. And this is how the situation turns in your favor. Not by winning someone back, but by outgrowing the version of yourself that waited. Because strength is quiet, clarity is steady, and the person who controls response controls outcome. And when you internalize this, you stop asking why they came back and start asking a better question, which is whether their presence adds to a life already moving forward, and that question alone dissolves attachment and restores authority. And if this realization lands heavy because it exposes patterns you have lived through more than once, understand that this is exactly why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists, because it takes these moments where confusion once ruled and replaces them with timeless principles you can apply immediately to every relationship and every decision, giving you a clear internal code so you never drift into imbalance again. And this guide is no longer limited to reading alone, because it is now available as an audiobook. meaning you can absorb this knowledge while walking, training, commuting, or sitting alone with your thoughts, turning idle time into progress. And once you own it, the knowledge is yours permanently, always accessible whenever life tests you again, which it will. And this matters because clarity fades without reinforcement, but discipline grows when wisdom is repeated. And that is why the link is waiting in the comments, for those who are done reacting and ready to operate from structure, direction, and self-respect, because this is not about fixing one situation, but about reshaping how you move through life from this point forward. Number 2, what her first text really signals. That first message tells the full story when you stop listening to the fantasy and start reading the structure, because every word choice, timing choice, and lack of direction reveals intent more clearly than any explanation she could give. And the hard truth is that a low-effort opening is designed to extract certainty from you while offering none in return, which means the message is not about connection, but about reassurance, not about rebuilding, but about checking position. And when you feel your mind rushing to assign meaning, you are watching conditioning surface, the habit of filling gaps for someone who previously stepped away without concern for how it landed on you. And this is where introspection must bite, because if a single casual line can pull your focus off your goals, then the issue is not the message, but the space you left unguarded in your life. And Stoic discipline corrects this by training you to observe impulses without obeying them, to feel interest without acting on it, to pause and ask what behavior this message actually represents, because strong intent arrives with clarity. It names purpose, it proposes direction, it carries weight, while weak intent drifts, circles, and waits for you to move first. And when you recognize this pattern, you stop romanticizing ambiguity and start treating it as data, and the solution becomes simple though not easy. You refuse to reward uncertainty. You respond only in ways that demand alignment with reality, and you stop explaining yourself to someone who has not demonstrated consistency, because explanations given too early teach others that your standards are flexible under pressure. And pressure is exactly what these messages apply, subtle but effective, because they rely on your hope rather than your judgment. And this is where being unsympathetic becomes necessary, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, because empathy without boundaries erodes authority, and authority over your own time is the foundation of a strong life. So when you read that message again, you read it as a test of structure, not a test of worth, and you decide in advance how you respond to tests, calmly, briefly, with direction, because the goal is not to impress, but to filter, and filtering requires firmness. And firmness grows when your life is filled with things that matter more than emotional guessing games. When your days are built around progress, you can measure. When your goals are written down and attacked in small steps daily. When your body is trained and your mind is occupied with creation rather than reaction. And as you live this way, you notice a shift where messages no longer create urgency. They create choice, and choice restores power. Because the person who can walk away internally always holds the upper hand externally. And when you adopt this stance consistently, you stop interpreting casual texts as opportunity and start seeing them as invitations that must meet your terms. And this reframes everything, because now the question is not, what does this message mean? But does this behavior align with the life you are building? And that question forces honesty, the kind that stings at first but liberates quickly, because once you stop chasing meaning, you start demanding substance, and substance reveals itself fast when structure exists. And this is how you transform the situation, not by reacting better, but by becoming someone whose presence requires intention, whose attention is earned, and whose calm refusal to engage without clarity reshapes every interaction going forward. Number 3. How power shifts in texting. Control in communication changes the moment you stop treating messages as emotional events and start treating them as decisions, because every reply either reinforces an old pattern or establishes a new standard, and the shift happens internally before it ever shows on the screen, where you decide that your worth is no longer measured by response speed, message length, or emotional availability, but by how well your actions align with your values and direction. And when you adopt this stance, texting becomes a tool rather than a trap, because you recognize that whoever reacts first, explains more, and adapts faster is silently giving ground, while the one who pauses, chooses words carefully, and leads toward reality sets the frame without force. And this is uncomfortable because most people are conditioned to chase relief rather than results, to answer quickly to calm anxiety rather than waiting to act from clarity. Yet discipline demands that you sit with the urge to respond and let it pass, because that urge is not intuition but habit, formed by past situations where attention felt scarce. And once you interrupt that habit, you reclaim self-command, which shows up as shorter messages, calmer tone, and intentional direction, not to manipulate but to reflect a life that does not orbit around a screen. And the reason this works is simple, because people adjust their behavior based on the rules you enforce through consistency, not words. So when you stop rewarding uncertainty with engagement, you force clarity to surface, and clarity always reveals intent quickly, because those who are serious step forward when structure appears, and those who are not fade when ease disappears. And this is where introspection cuts deepest, because you must confront how often you gave more than was earned, how often you tried to maintain connection through effort instead of alignment. And the solution is not emotional withdrawal, but emotional regulation, where you feel fully yet act selectively, because Stoic application in this context means recognizing that you cannot control how others show up, but you can control the terms under which you participate. And this principle extends into every part of your life, where you begin setting schedules instead of waiting, making plans instead of hovering, pursuing goals daily instead of postponing them for emotional noise. And as your life fills with action, the urgency to reply fades naturally, because you are no longer using messages as proof of relevance. And this changes how others experience you, because calm presence creates gravity, while anxious presence creates obligation, and obligation never sustains respect. So you choose gravity by leading interactions towards something real, whether that is a call, a meeting, or an ending, because drifting conversations waste time and drain focus, and focus is your most valuable resource. And when you protect it fiercely, you become someone who does not need to be chosen, because you are already choosing a direction, and that direction becomes visible through your communication style, where you speak less, mean more, and never negotiate your standards. And over time, this reshapes your identity, because you stop living reactively and start living deliberately. And the result is not just better outcomes with others, but a deeper sense of control over your own life, where you wake up knowing what you are building. You write your goals down and break them into steps. You execute daily regardless of external validation. And when a message arrives, it either fits into that structure or it does not. And this is how leverage returns quietly, not through distance or games, but through disciplined consistency, where your actions speak so clearly that words become secondary, and anyone engaging with you feels that clarity immediately, because clarity cannot be faked and discipline cannot be ignored. Number 4, the exact text to send. The response you send now functions as a line drawn in your own behavior rather than a tactic aimed at her reaction, because the purpose of this message is not to revive emotion, but to restore alignment. And alignment only happens when words match standards, so the text must be brief, grounded, and directional, acknowledging the message without rewarding the gap, signaling availability without surrendering control, and offering a clear next step without chasing, because anything longer than necessary invites negotiation, and anything softer than necessary invites repetition of the same pattern. And the reason this works is because people respect structure even when they resist it. So a message that calmly states you are occupied and open to real conversation at a specific time communicates self-respect without hostility. And this is crucial because respect is built through consistency rather than explanation. And when you craft this response, you are practicing restraint, choosing precision over emotion, which strengthens self-command far beyond this interaction, because you feel the urge to say more, to ask questions, to reopen old ground. Yet you refuse because the past does not need discussion to be understood. It only needs correction through behavior. And this is where Stoic application becomes practical, where you act according to principle rather than impulse. Understanding that you cannot control her interpretation, but you can control your conduct. And your conduct must reflect that your time has value and your life has direction. So the message carries three elements quietly embedded within it, which are acknowledgement without excitement, direction toward reality, and an implicit boundary that drifting conversations no longer fit. And this combination forces truth to surface, because if interest exists, it will meet the structure, and if it does not, it will fade without drama, and either outcome benefits you, because clarity saves time, and time is the currency you protect now. And this moment becomes a checkpoint, not just for this interaction, but for your habits overall, where you commit to speaking less, acting more, and reserving emotional energy for situations that grow. And the controversial truth is that many people never do this because they fear losing potential connection more than they value self-respect. Yet the paradox is that self-respect creates better connections, while fear erodes them. So by sending a message that is calm, concise, and forward-moving, you signal a shift in identity, one where you no longer seek reassurance but alignment. And this identity shift radiates outward into how you handle work, friendships, and personal goals, because you stop over-explaining, stop chasing approval, and start leading with action, writing down what matters, breaking it into steps, executing daily, and letting communication serve your life rather than interrupt it. And when you internalize this, you realize that the exact wording matters less than the discipline behind it, because discipline cannot be faked, and people feel it immediately. And once you operate from this place, you no longer fear saying the wrong thing because your standards guide you, and that freedom alone changes how you move through the world, calm, deliberate, and unreactive, knowing that whatever response comes next will reveal everything you need to know without you having to ask. Number 5. What happens after you send it? Everything that follows your message becomes a reflection of alignment rather than effort. Because once you respond with clarity, the situation moves out of ambiguity and into consequence. And this is where many people feel a quiet fear, because outcomes replace fantasy, yet outcomes are exactly what free you. Because if engagement follows with directness and a willingness to meet in reality, then consistency becomes the metric, and you proceed calmly without over-investing, watching actions rather than listening to promises. And if avoidance appears through vague replies, delays, or attempts to keep things light without moving forward, you do not correct, chase, or explain. You simply disengage, because disengagement is not punishment, but self-respect. And this is the moment where introspection deepens, because you realize how often in the past you would have filled that gap with effort, trying to rescue something that was never committed. And now you sit still and let behavior speak. And if disappearance follows, it confirms what was already present, which is that interest existed only in comfort, not contribution. And this clarity strengthens you, because it proves that your worth was never tied to the outcome, only to how you handled yourself. And this lesson extends beyond this interaction into how you live daily, where you stop negotiating with uncertainty and start building a life that does not require validation to feel meaningful, where you set goals with precision, break them into steps, execute regardless of mood, and allow results to shape confidence. And as your days fill with action, the emotional charge of messages dissolves, because attention from others no longer substitutes for progress in your own life. And this is transformative because it reorients your identity away from reaction and toward intention. And the controversial truth is that many people remain stuck because they confuse emotional intensity with connection. Yet connection requires reliability, effort, and direction. And when those are absent, the healthiest response is distance without resentment. And Stoic practice here means accepting reality as it presents itself without adding narrative, because you do not need closure from someone who already showed you their level of engagement. And when you internalize this, you stop seeking answers and start setting standards. And standards simplify life because they remove confusion. And this simplicity creates calm, because calm comes from knowing that you will act in your own best interest regardless of external behavior. And over time, this calm becomes visible to others, drawing those who respect structure and repelling those who rely on ambiguity. And this filtering effect improves every area of your life, because you no longer tolerate half-effort at work, unclear expectations in friendships, or distractions that steal time from your goals. And this is how the situation turns fully in your favor. Not because someone returns with better behavior, but because you no longer depend on returns to feel grounded. And this independence is quiet, yet powerful, because it allows you to move forward without bitterness, to close doors without anger, and to open new ones without urgency. And once you live this way, you realize that the message you sent was never about regaining anything from another person, but about reclaiming authority over your own time, focus, and direction. And that authority compounds daily as you continue choosing discipline over impulse, clarity over hope, and action over waiting. Number 6. How this reshapes your life going forward. What unfolds next is larger than any single interaction, because the habits you build here redefine how you move through every area of your life, where you stop measuring yourself through reactions and start measuring yourself through execution. And this shift feels unfamiliar at first, because it removes the emotional highs and lows that once filled empty space. Yet that space is exactly where growth lives, because when you are no longer waiting for messages to regulate your mood, you begin directing that energy into things that compound, such as clear goals written down without decoration, broken into daily actions that you complete regardless of how you feel. And this consistency builds an internal stability that no external behavior can shake. And this is where introspection becomes unavoidable, because you see how much time you once spent hoping instead of building, analyzing instead of acting, and tolerating instead of choosing. And the situation you faced becomes a turning point rather than a wound, because it exposes what you allowed and what you are no longer willing to allow. And this clarity strengthens your boundaries across the board, where you communicate expectations calmly, leave situations that lack alignment without argument, and invest deeply only where effort flows both ways. And this approach transforms your relationships, because you stop attracting people who seek comfort without contribution and start aligning with those who respect structure and direction. And the controversial truth is that many people resist this level of self-command because it removes the excuse of circumstance, placing responsibility squarely on personal choice. Yet responsibility is freedom, because it means your future is shaped by discipline rather than chance. And Stoic application here means you accept that discomfort is part of growth, and that peace comes from acting in accordance with values rather than chasing approval. So when challenges appear, you do not collapse into reaction, but respond with measured action. And this steadiness carries into your work, where you stop procrastinating, set clear priorities, and execute daily without waiting for motivation, and into your health, where you train consistently, eat deliberately, and respect your body as a tool rather than a comfort device. And as these habits stack, your confidence becomes quiet and grounded, no longer dependent on validation. And this internal shift changes how others perceive you, because presence rooted in discipline is felt immediately, and people either rise to meet it or remove themselves, and both outcomes serve you. And over time you look back and see that the message you once overthought was simply a signal pointing you towards self-respect. And by choosing clarity, restraint, and action, you turned a moment of uncertainty into a foundation for a stronger life, where you lead yourself first and allow others to join only if they align with the direction you are already moving. This is where the choice becomes permanent, because once you see these patterns, you either act or repeat them. So if you are ready to stop guessing and start moving with clarity, comment, "I choose discipline" right now, like the video, and subscribe so these truths reach others before more years are wasted chasing confusion. And if you want the full framework that locks this mindset in place, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is waiting for you, filled with timeless principles that cut through modern confusion and reshape how you show up immediately. And it is now available as an audiobook, so you can absorb it while walking, training, or clearing your head instead of scrolling. And once you own it, the knowledge is yours forever, untouched by trends or pressure. Because this is the kind of clarity rarely encouraged in a world that benefits when you stay uncertain.